everyone will get a little notification that we're recording. And then the last thing is I have two computers open because we have people in person and people online, and I want to be able to share. And if I do that, then I can't see. Okay, hang on. So sorry. Okay, share screen. There we go. And slideshow. Yay. Okay. Phew, we got it started, everyone. Okay, so welcome. I'm Jen Goldenberg. I'm the ELD teacher on special assignment for the district. And everyone here is a staff member. So we have people online who are parents, which thank you for joining us. And we have a couple staff members. If you are online, could you please type your name in the chat and then say which site you represent?
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for a second. I'm parent, and I tried to put my name in the chat, but I wasn't able for some reason. It says you cannot share with kind of rest of the participants in the chat.
That's crazy.
Just have her stand.
I don't know. Sorry, I just wanted
That's so bizarre. See, it says allow participants to chat. Okay, whatever. How about, since your name says iPhone, what is your name?
My name is Luba Thomas, and I'm parent. I have a child at Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Luba. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Sorry.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you. I think everyone else were probably good.
Yes, we're good.
So here's our agenda. And we need to approve the agenda and then approve the minutes. And we do not have quorum, so we're going to skip. We're just going to proceed, and then we will review the minutes when we get more people. So people I know are very busy and sometimes come in late, so it's okay. Okay, so today we're going to start with introductions, actually. So sorry. So as I said, Jen Goldenberg, teacher on special assignment, and in the room we have various people. There's Kirsten waving, she's the ELD specialist. Arpane's ELD specialist. Sonley, ELD coordinator. Jim Kuntz, ELD coordinator. Tracy, ELD coordinator. Harjot, ELD coordinator. Lori, ELD specialist. And Jenny, ELD specialist. And then, of course, Peter Knappe, my partner in crime. And I forgot to introduce that Sonley has a intern with him. So, whoops, wrong. Wait, is this the right way? Yeah, there you are. Wave, say hi. Okay, so I'll be doing a lot of talking, so I'm going to keep the camera on me, but if other people speak, then I will turn the camera for them. So we're going to start. Well, first off with introductions, I want to just tell everyone that we have a new ELD specialist. We had an ELD specialist named Angie DeMello, who retired a few years ago, and we finally we got the go ahead to hire a new person to replace, to fill in her space. And so that's Jenny. And let me turn the camera again to Jenny. Sorry, there she is. So this is one of her first official ELD things to do. So, okay, so we're going to talk about, first we're going to talk today about the LCAP. So, we're going to skip the minutes thing. So I wasn't sure, Robin.
Hello.
Hi, I wasn't sure which PowerPoint you were going to share. So what I'm going to do is, I think if I give you co-host, does that mean that you can then share?
Yes.
Yep. Or you can click on share screen, the top right corner, and allow all participants, either one.
Got it. Okay. You know what? That's what I did. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and then Robin's going to share. He's our person who's in charge of instructional technology. Do you want to introduce and say what your title is, maybe?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to speak a little slower for our translators this morning. But my name is Robin Anders. I am the Director of Instructional Technology and Accountability. And I do various things for the district, providing student technology and classroom technology supports. But primarily what I'm here today to speak to is LCAP, our Local Control and Accountability Plan, which I also manage and oversee. So I have a slide up that I want to touch on. This is part of a presentation that we did in December with the public. But before I speak to that presentation, I want to make sure you all are aware of a LCAP meeting that will take place next week on January 24th. That's Wednesday next week at 6 p.m., where we will be giving a significant update to our LCAP. So if this presentation interests you, or you are able to see information at our meeting in December, November, and you want to know more about where we're at with LCAP for next year, please come to that meeting next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. But what I'm sharing today is where we left off in December in preparing the LCAP for next school year. So our local control and accountability plan is in place for this year. We are not making any changes to this year's plan, and the supports that we provide our students, those are all going to remain in place. We are only discussing what things will look like for next year. And the primary objective that we are discussing currently is our budget, and making sure we are preparing a budget that will be financially stable next year. And so you can see the first big item that we have to tackle is we have to reduce the budget by $1,208,607. Why are we going to have less money next year than we have this year? That's a good question. The reason is we have declining enrollment as a district. So our overall enrollment is going down. In addition to that, our free and reduced lunch students who qualify for that program, those numbers are also going down from where we have in previous years. Those two numbers generate a lot of the money we receive for our LCAP. And so if we don't have as many students qualify, we don't get as much money. The other reason we are going to have less money in LCAP next year is we've had carryover funds from year to year, and most of these carryover dollars came into place during the COVID pandemic, when we either did not provide services and were able to save that money because we were not in person, or because we had other funding through COVID grants or emergency one-time funding that we used those dollars to provide services instead of our LCAP dollars. That money has now been spent. So any carryover that we've had previously or COVID dollars, those have all been spent. And so we have less money because next year for that reason as well. Something specific to this group is that we have a lot of newcomer English students or English learner students. And so there is a new need that we need to address with our LCAP of providing more services to our population of students who are English learners. And so in addition to reducing our spending, we also have to spend more to support our English learners. So our goal for next year is to cut by $1.6 million so that one, we can have a balanced budget, and two, we have additional money to spend to support our English learners. I'm going to skip ahead some slides, so I just wanted to explain that budget. But the next couple of slides are results from a survey we sent out to the community to help them tell us where they felt we could make some cuts or things that they felt were priority for continuing to fund. And so we're not gonna have enough time to go through these, but these are on our LCAP website. So you could review this if you would like. But what these slides do is compare what the community, parents, and staff told us, what they felt was a priority, versus what our administrative conversations have been. The gray are areas where we're aligned, where the community and our administrative staff both identified the same things. So we have a slide for what we felt as a priority, things that need to stay in place. We have a slide for things that could be adjusted, probably stay in place, but maybe they look a little different. And we have a slide where we compare things that the community says we can remove or reduce in funding, and where administratively we feel things could be removed or reduced in funding. All that to say, based on that information from our community, based on conversations with our administrators, we have compiled a list of items that we feel we can reduce funding. Some of these will be eliminated altogether, and they say they will be removed. Some of these are only being reduced in the amount. This is not finalized. This is just a discussion. And things have actually changed since this slide was presented. So some of the things on this slide are no longer accurate. We just I'm not able to share that today. We will be sharing that information next week on Wednesday of any changes we've made or adjustments we've made to this slide. So if you want to be familiar with anything that's changed or any adjustments we've made, please come to next week's Wednesday night meeting. I'm not going line by line here to identify, but in broad strokes, we're looking at reducing some of the funding we have provided to our CDS school, which is our community day school. And that's been a topic that has been at board meetings about how that school operates and whether it's appropriate with new legislature. We are reducing some funding. Another big bucket would be with our intervention specialists as secondary, summer school programs, and elementary library coordinators and intervention teachers. But again, these are not final, and some of these things have been adjusted since this slide was published. Tune in next week. But again, this is available on our website if you want to review this in full.
Thank you, Robin. So does anyone online have a question or in the room have a question?
I have a question.
Sonley has a question. Speak up, Sonley.
So I know you said the free and reduced lunch applications or applicants are getting less, like who are qualifying. Is there a way for us to push to make it more mandated for them to fill it out? Because I'm assuming there's a good chunk of people who just don't fill it out because of free lunch the last few years. That's probably.
Did you hear that okay, Robin, or no?
I did.
Okay.
We've been doing some campaigning by sending out information directly to parents about all the benefits of filling out the lunch application. It's more than a meal was our slogan, because the kids who qualify or families who qualify generate additional dollars for their school. Just in LCAP alone, this is not including Title I funding or other funding, just in our LCAP, each child is worth approximately $2,000 to their school. So if a family completes that meal application and qualifies as free or reduced, their school is going to receive an additional $2,000 per child. So that, you bring up a really good point, Sonlay. I think some families have stopped filling out that lunch application because they're not interested in the school lunch, or they are, but they get it for free anyway, so why fill it out? We're trying to inform the public, inform our families that that application generates additional dollars outside of a free lunch. Our sites can do that, can communicate that. We've been communicating that as a district, and we're going to continue to communicate that, especially next summer and fall when families re-enroll. We are also looking at making it part of our parent data confirmation for returning families, and we're working with LACO to see if it can be required or not. At minimum, we anticipate we will include it in the parent data confirmation packet and have either the lunch form to application to complete or an opt-out form saying they are not going to complete the lunch application.
One thing that they do, one of my kids came to school here. I have another kid who's been in other districts, and the other district said, you must fill it out. I knew that I didn't have to, but they said, you need to fill this out. And if you don't think you qualify, there's like a statement you can make, like, or click a button or something, so that at least you've turned in the form. It's bizarre, I know, but that's what they've said.
Yeah.
So maybe LACO might say something like that. There's a question.
So all of our parents in this meeting encourage other families to do it. Encourage your other parents and school sites, anybody that's at a school site, work with your office staff, your administration to really push families to complete this when they enroll, or even returning families, because it does have to be completed annually. Yep.
I got a question. So as far as I understand, for families to qualify for that, they have to be in a certain income level. Am I correct?
You are correct. So just because you fill out the form doesn't mean you qualify.
Right.
But what we find is a lot of families assume they will not qualify and don't fill out the form when they will qualify, when they do qualify. So the only way to know for sure is to start or to complete the form to find out if you will qualify or not.
So that is that the only like criteria, or anything else? Like, is
I
it
do want
like,
to share, our LCAP, we do receive $2,000 per child who is an English learner. So there's other ways that we generate funding. It's just when we're talking about our budget and why it's reducing, the primary reason is we have fewer families completing.
sorry.
Yes, and it has to do not only with income, but the number of people in your family, not the class size, the family size. Okay, we have a question from Lori Kelly.
Okay, my principal and I have discussed bringing this up at our ELAC meetings. Is there a deadline for when it needs to be filled out? And also, can we use all that information that Robin said about that it generates 2,000 per student? I mean, can we get that specific with them?
Yeah, you can email me or Peter Knappich for the flyer that states that shares the $2,000 information. So that's our district flyer that you can be sure that you're good to provide that to families or distribute. The deadline, your first question, really, ideally, we would like families to complete that application by October or the first week of October. But if they miss that deadline all the way through the fall semester, we should still collect those. The deadline for them to be included in LCAP funding is the end of October. So we needed that first week to make sure they're included for LCAP funding. If they complete the lunch application after that deadline, they could still contribute towards your Title I funding or school Title I funding. And Peter may have a more specific date for Title I, but ideally we want as many of these done by the first week of October.
Is it included in the enrollment packet?
It is. It is included in the enrollment packet. It's just not a requirement to complete it or opt out currently.
No touchy computer.
Huh.
Okay, and then, oops, Peter, you were gonna say something, right?
Every July 1, the application reopens and has to be submitted. So like what Rob was
There we go.
talking about is the application should be submitted once we get it from the federal government and from the state. It's about July 1, July 10th when we get the new application. And then as part of data confirmation that we're talking about, we plan to push it out through that system. And then it should be completed by October 1. In general, Seabed's Day drives the number for Title I, for Title III, for LCAP. So Seabed's Day is when we capture like how many students are in our schools and fall into certain categories. Okay, so that is like the magic day. We can go ahead and continue to go ahead and add to that number. But at one point in time, end of October, when CalPADS locks in, that's it. So it's better to go ahead and just take care of it by October 1, get it out of the way.
So doing it now might not help, or just waiting until our first ELAC meeting of the year would be better? What would you suggest? Okay. And then there's a comment.
There's a
I
comment,
can read it if you'd like.
oh, from Nuria,
Yes.
right, exactly, we will, encourage our principals to, they probably already do, but just, we can remind them to, at the next TKK meeting, to encourage them. I know we did last time, right? We did this week.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
my meeting with the families, kindergarten informational meeting.
and we just need to remind principals to do that too, like when they have kindergarten orientation. Kind of
She
a
says there
thing.
were 200 attendees. We have to be repetitive.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank
So
you,
that's
Robbie.
LCAP. I just one more plug next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Get the most current information of where we are with LCAP. Because like I said, what I shared today, there are going to be adjustments to that. So if you want to know what those are, we'll see you then. Okay.
And I have that actually on my last slide.
Great.
So, okay, we're gonna go back to this other slideshow. So the next thing on our agenda is to discuss the California dashboard, which just came out. And in fact, Robin, if you want to hang on and listen in, and because if I say something that's wrong, please correct me. So the dashboard was released December.
Mhm.
Yes, okay. And what it is it's how are we doing in certain groups on certain data points. So in other words, if the students, like our students, take the LPAC, how are they doing as a group? Are they making progress? We can also look at graduation rate. We could look at how are they doing on the CASP? And there's a whole bunch of other criteria to look at. I can send this out and post this meaning the slide deck on online and email it to you all so you can, because there's live links, you can click on this and it'll take you to this page and you can do your own research. So let's talk specifically about the English Learner Performance Index. And this is when we ask the question, did the student make progress, or did the students make progress? And you're probably all familiar with the 4 levels here. These are the levels from the LPAC. And generally progress is determined like, did a kid go from one level to another level? So if in spring 2022, a student scored at the beginning level, and in spring 2023, they were at a somewhat developed level, then yes, they, see, when they made progress. Sorry. Then, but what happens if this happens? What if a student is this spring, like we said, a level 2, or last spring, a level 2, and then they're also a level 2 again? Have they made progress if they're within the same level? Well, maybe. Okay, and here's the reason behind it. It takes 5 to 7 years to be proficient in another language. So if we were to just look at the LPAC levels and say, okay, student was in kindergarten, level 1. Oops. Next year, level 2. So that'd be first grade, and then second grade, a level 3, and then third grade, a level 4. Done. But wait, the research says it takes 5 to 7 years to become proficient. So there was an issue with how we measure proficiency. So what they did at the state level is they kept level 1 the same, but they divided up level 2 into level, sorry, it's, I don't know why I should just projected this on here, but I did things weird today. They divided level 2 into too low and too high based on the scaled score. And in general, the scaled score goes from 1475, so 1475 to 1516. They divide it in half. So if a student scored a level 2 so say it's kinder and then first and then second, they were a level 2H. And then third, we have the third level is also divided in half. So we have a 3 low and a 3 high. And then the last level is the same. So now when we look at it, it takes, let's see, kinder, first, second, so that's 2 years or 3 years, 4. Anyway, I can't count and move the thing at the same time. So 6 years, which is right in the middle of what the research says, that it's 5 to 7 years to become proficient. So, oops, there we go. So ideally, if a student is a level 1, a beginner, when they come in kindergarten, by 5th grade, they should be a level 4, hopefully. We know students acquire language at all different levels. So this is not a perfect formula. Anyway, what happens with this information, when we see how many students have gone from one level to the other, and I mean from the 2L, 2H, 3L, the 6 pieces, the 6 levels versus the 4. When students make progress, then they are counted as part of our percentage of kids making progress. You might think, well, what if a student scores a 4 and stays there the next year? That's fine. That's also making progress. What if a student was a 4 and went and scored as a 3 the following year? That's not making progress because they went backwards. Or if they were a 1, 2, or 3 and they stayed a 1, 2, or 3, that's also not making progress. So it's, the state always likes to make it very interesting for people like me who love data, and difficult though otherwise to explain. So let's look at what our what we said in our EL master plan was we will improve by 2% each year. So our baseline data, we had 56.5% of students making progress. One thing I think I forgot to mention, that in order to measure this, you have to have, for 2019, they had to have a score in 2018 and a score in 2019. Once a student is reclassified, there are no matching scores, so they're out of the group. if a student leaves, we don't have a matching score, so they're not in the calculation. It's only when we have matching scores, 1 year after the other. Okay, so in 2019, it was 56%. And here's the chart of our data straight from the dashboard. So in 2020, we had a lot of students take the test right before the pandemic, but not all of them. So there was no data. In 2021, we had 2021 scores, but nothing to compare it to for 2020. So we had to wait. We finally had an English learner progress index. It's called an LP for last year, where we had 54.2% made progress. And this last year was 57.7. So we are slightly above our baseline level. And normally, I think I'd be looking at reasons behind it. I think we can all agree that the pandemic threw a wrench with everyone. So does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
Do you happen to remember how we compared to the state of California?
I love it. I swear I did not plant Peter in the audience to say that. But the next thing was, okay, so we know how our ELs are doing, and on the dashboard, they're in a green, which is making good progress, or whatever does anyone remember what it's called, the green level? Yeah, Robin, Peter, no? Okay. So anyway, let's look at the state. Because if we had fewer students making progress in the state, I'd be really worried. But we're not. We're almost 10% above the state. And we increased from 2022 to 2023. And I think the state decreased. No, they maintained, it said it was like negligible. So there's a couple different ways to look at our data. We can say, wow, we've only improved 1.2% from 2019 to 2023, and just ignore the fact that we had a pandemic. Just kidding. It's more fair to look at us on this data point, that let's compare ourselves to the state. Let's see how we're doing compared to the state. The reason why I bring this up is because we're going to be revising the EL master plan this year. I need to report to the board what our data looks like what it looked like pre-pandemic and what it looks like today. And we're going to set new goals. And so we might have, sorry, somebody just set closed captioning. Cool. So we might look at our data differently. We might look at it in terms of how is it compared to the state? Let's maintain a certain percentage. We want to score higher than the state. That's what our data point is for reclassification. When students meet the criteria to exit the program, we said that we'll maintain, I don't know, 3, 4, 5% difference, like do better than the state. And we have consistently. Any comments or questions?
This is your 15-minute warning.
Thank you. We had Dr. Right? Linda Young join us. I think I might have introduced her last time, but let me just take a second to, let's see, it's hard to see her. She's in the back, right? Wave your hand. There she is. She's our assistant superintendent. Thank you. It's like I have 2 laptops going. I'm moving the camera and I can't keep track of everyone. Do you want to just introduce yourself maybe? Sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, my name is Linda Young. I'm Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services. So there's the new Sharon Cuseo, as she officially retired in December. I'm stepping in to fill that role. Really excited to be here. Grew up next door in Glendale. The majority of my career to this point was in Glendale Unified.
Did you attend Glendale School?
I graduated from Hoover.
Oh,
What year?
Oh, do I really have to share that?
No.
My maiden name is Goobler, and I'm the youngest of 7, so you were probably there when there were some of my older siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, Lori
And I look
seems
a
to
lot like
know
one of my
everyone.
Growing area, you do.
Too funny. And so Linda's was working with Sharon all last semester to get the lay of the land, and she's fabulous, and I'm super excited that she's with us. We really got lucky, and I would say this even if she weren't in the room. So that's just a new face around here. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. Just kidding. Oh, whoops, I forgot I had some animation. Okay, so now we're going to move on to committee reports, and Mona could not be here today. So I'll just give her report that since we had a change in leadership from Matt Hill to John Paramo, the PTA council met now with John in the fall. He really likes this idea that PTA council works with the community and different school connected organizations, groups to hold a resources fair. And they're still working out the details. It's a big undertaking, but we still would like to do it. And the intent is to help the families of ELs and immigrants because they're brand new to Burbank. Well, the immigrant families are. And yeah, are there any questions about that one? No? Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. I don't think we have quorum yet. That's okay. You know what? We can always bring the minutes forward to the next meeting. And let's see. Oh, look, here's my final slide. This is why I want to get you this slide deck in. I want to email it to everyone. Enrollment begins for Burbank residents. There it is. Next Monday, right? 8 a.m. The link is not live yet. There is no link. So you can click on that page that I put in the slide deck. And on Monday at 8 o'clock, you'll be able to register. If you have a student who's starting, if you live in Burbank and you have a student who's starting next school year. If you have a student in Burbank already, they're already enrolled, you don't have to do that enrollment. This is just mainly for incoming TK and kinders, although we get kids at all grade levels.
The current TK students are Burbank Unified students.
Mhm.
So they're just gonna roll up into kindergarten. They don't need to do, because I've had that question quite often. if they're
Very
already in
good
the
point.
system.
Yes, if they're already in the system in TK, then they're already enrolled. They don't have to, parents do not have to go and complete the enrollment packet again. For special education students at Horace Mann,
They need to.
they
enroll.
need to enroll because they're coming from preschool. So it's different if they're coming from preschool, it's different than if they're in TK. So, because TK is just considered year one of a 2-year kindergarten program. Okay, the next important thing is exactly what Robin said, that we have our LCAP meeting next Wednesday. Oh, I should have moved this up because, hey, if you really want to attend all these meetings, look, we have 3 nights planned for you. We have or three events. We have online enrollment on Monday, Tuesday night Spanish dual immersion informational meeting for new families, and LCAP on Wednesday, and then our next DELAC is in February. I'll fix the order on the slide before I send it out. Any other questions or comments? No? Thank you for everyone who was able to attend. Our next meeting is online and it's in the evening. So if you have little ones at home, bring them. We like to say hi to them. Sonley usually has his son on his lap at some point. So Miss Thomas, it was really sweet to see your little one. We don't mind. We love kids. Okay. All right. Well then, everyone, we're gonna close down the meeting and see you all maybe at the LCAP meeting next week if you have time. If not, see you in February.
Oh,
What?
there's a comment.
There's a comment.
Anush wants to know if we have any updates on the upcoming LPAC test. We are only a month away, and it would be good to know if students' prep for it has started at the schools. Apologized if it was mentioned and I missed it.
Oh, thank you, Anush. Yes, Jim Koontz. This question came from your parent. So upcoming updates on the LPAC. We went over the LPAC letter last meeting. I'm going to make sure any changes that were made in English match in the other languages. I will be emailing it out. At Muir, have they started to prep at all?
Yeah, prepping happens from day one. So
Yeah.
yes, those, all the designated ELD classes, everybody is doing bits and pieces here and there. So
Yes.
yes, that occurs. And then you'll shortly be getting a letter telling specifically what teacher is giving it on what dates.
Did you hear that? Oh, she did. She went like this. So what teacher is hearing it on holding it on which days? Yes.
At least the listening.
Right, the group test.
Right, group administration.
Yeah, it's easier for us to tell parents when the groups are scheduled for, because they are scheduled. The speaking, just
Is an eternity.
is an eternity. It takes forever. It takes 20 to 30 minutes per student individually to do the speaking. So it takes a while. Okay, all right. Thank you for Christian for telling me about the question in the chat. And thank you everyone for attending. So bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.